Hey everybody. So I wanted to bring to you some interesting things today from the Gospel of Thomas. Now, most of you who know me know that I am not a religious person in any sense. What I value more than anything is philosophy. And I found a lot of philosophy that makes a lot of sense without a lot of the metaphors and parables that exist a lot of times that you see in the Bible. Some of these things do exist in the Gospel of Thomas. But what I'm going to show you today are a couple of things that are really interesting. If you have not read the Gospel of Thomas, first of all, in the early Christian writings page that I'm on here right now, you'll notice that the Gospel of Thomas is only one out of all the stuff that you see in here that was left out of the Bible by the Catholic Church. Okay? But I'm going to show you that there's so much value in this one Gospel of Thomas that it should cause you to come out here and take a look at some of these other things as well. The Gospel of Thomas was found in 1945. It was discovered in Egypt in a town called Nag Hammadi. In 1945, 13 papyrus codices buried in a sealed jar were found by a local peasant near Upper Egyptian town of Nag Hammadi. 11 of these were in the original leather covers. This collection of codices in Coptic bindings, called the Nag Hammadi Library, comprised 52 most Gnostic tractates or treatises documenting a major side stream of early quasi-Christian thought, formerly attested only by the anti-heretical treatises of Orthodox Christianity. The best known of these works is probably the Gospel of Thomas, of which the Nag Hammadi codices contained the only complete text. They also included 3 works belonging to the Corpus Hermeticum. Now, if you're not familiar with that, the Corpus Hermeticum basically contains dialogues in which a teacher generally identified with Hermes Trismegistus, or thrice greatest Hermes, enlightens a disciple. So if you're familiar with Hermes, Thoth, which is also the same as Hermes, then when you look right here in the early Christian writings, and it talks about works inside the Corpus Hermeticum, now you can finally understand that these works were kept from you for a reason. Okay? These are early Christian writings, and they actually talk about that the Corpus Hermeticum was found inside these things. And what's interesting is they were found around 1945, which is basically around the end of World War II. So we're going to take a look at the Gospel of Thomas today, because this is information that was left out of the Bible, I believe, on purpose by those who do not want you to have the information. And with a couple of the sayings in here, I'm going to prove that to you as well. So what we see here is that the Gospel of Thomas, along with the Corpus Hermeticum, I'm going to also show you that Jesus taught Hermetics. He taught Hermetics. He understood what Hermetics are. Let me introduce you to the 7 principles in Hermetics. Now, right here I'm on the Kabbalion.org. This is where you're going to find Hermetic philosophy. Not religion, philosophy. And of course what it says is the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. If you read the Gospel of Thomas, you'll also find that Jesus says in there many times, let them hear for those who have ears to hear. He says that a lot. He's basically teaching Hermetics. So when you take a look at the 7 Hermetic principles, they are a principle of mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and the principle of gender, not to be mistaken for male and female, but to be understood by the active and passive parts of your mind. So let's take a look at some of the things that he said. The very first thing that he said is, and he said, whoever discovers the interpretation of these sayings will not taste death. Number 2, and this is one that you should compare with yourself. He said that those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. When they find, they will be disturbed. When they are disturbed, they will marvel and reign over all, and after that they will rest. So how many of you have actually done the seeking that you're supposed to do in order to find the truth? Or have you just been given what you were told and stopped there? See, the church tells people not to seek. The church tells people to only stick with what they have been told and not to go looking anywhere else. So this is something Jesus said. Number 2, just not stop seeking until you find. Number 5, this one is very, very important. He said, know is what is in front of your face, and what is hidden will be disclosed to you. Know what is hidden in front of your face, and it will be disclosed to you. Well, does this look like it's in your face or not? Do you see what is being shown to you that has been hidden for hundreds and hundreds of years? And yet no one has looked at this, and no one has put the pieces together. Of course, not that you really could until like last year, which is really interesting because in Revelations is when they tell you that things will start being disclosed. It wasn't until last year or the year before last when the internet started becoming so popular and when we were able to see things that we weren't able to see before. What's interesting is that these pictures that we see of Orion here have existed for several hundred years at least, which the quality of them matches that of the Spitzer telescope. So how is it that they knew what the Orion Nebula looked like so many hundreds of years ago? But they did. But now is the only time that we are able to see this stuff. But know what is in front of your face, so it will be disclosed to you. It's now being disclosed to you, folks. Take a look at what's in front of your face. Spread this information around. Okay? I don't know why that my site doesn't have more hits on this extremely valuable information. This needs to get out to everyone. Know what is in front of your face. Okay? Jesus said this. Get this information out so that other people can see what is being hidden in front of their face. And we can all have this disclosed to us. Priests cannot answer this question. I've had several people go and ask their priests, what does this mean? And they cannot answer it. So know what is in front of your face. Now let's tie something interesting together down here on number 13. Jesus said to his disciples, compare me to something and tell me what I'm like. Simon Peter said to him, you are like a just messenger. Well, now let's hop over here to the book of wisdom. Okay? And the book of wisdom was also another book left out of the Bible. And what does it say here on 2:18? For if the just man be the Son of God. So if he's a just messenger, then he is a son of God. And if you're a just messenger, you are the son of God. We are all sons of God. And this is also mentioned inside and outside of the Bible. So yes, he was a messenger. He was a just messenger, just as each of us should be as well. Because all of us have the same ability to be just like he is, just like Jesus was. And we can do that by looking for truth, by seeking truth, as we saw up here, by knowing what is in front of our face, and by being a just messenger, showing people the truth. Let's take a look at number 3 real quick. I told you that Jesus taught Hermetics. Okay? If he says, if your leaders look to you and the Father's kingdom is in the sky, then the birds will precede you. If they say to you, it's in the sea, then the fish will precede you. Rather, the Father's kingdom is within you and is outside you. As above, so below. As below, so above. This also matches the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. Okay? Now let's take a look at one that is basically, he says, when you see one who is not born of a woman fall on your faces and worship, that one is your father. Okay, what he's talking about is mental gender here. Let's take a look at something. Now I'm going to skip down to where I know there's a passage that I want to read, and it basically says, the strong men and women of the world invariably manifest the masculine principle of will, and their strength depends materially upon this fact. Instead of living upon the impressions made upon others by their minds, they dominate their own minds by their will, obtaining the kind of mental images desired, and moreover dominate the minds of others likewise in the same manner. Look at the strong people and how they manage to implant their seed thoughts in the minds of the masses of the people. thus causing the latter to think thoughts in accordance with the desires and wills of the strong individuals. And this is why the masses of the people are such sheep-like creatures, because they never originated an idea of their own, nor used their own powers of mental activity. So if you are just being fed stuff and you are not using your own masculine principle of will, which is what he's talking about right here. He's not talking about somebody who's physically born by a woman. He's talking about someone that exercises the active part of their mind and is not impressionable by everything people feed them. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about hermetics. This is one so many people fail to do, and that is, they asked him, how will our end come? And he says, have you found the beginning then, so that you're looking for the end? You see, the end will be where the beginning is. So he said, the end will be as the beginning is. The serpent eating his tail is what comes to mind when I read that. This is very interesting. Snake eating its own tail represents eternity. And if you can take a look at the triangle here, and it looks like there's a Yahweh symbol in the middle of that. I'm going to have to save that image. That also looks very old as well. Alright, down here, more hermetics. He said, they're talking about basically, he sees some nursing babies, and those are like the ones that enter the Father's kingdom. And then they ask if they should enter the Father's kingdom as babies. And listen to the hermetics that comes out here. When you make the two into one. Now, as I've said before, when consciousness came down in order to manifest on the physical plane down here, it split itself into two, duality, positive and negative. So when we make two into one again, which is what he's saying, then he says when you make the inner like the outer, law of correspondence, the outer like the inner, law of correspondence, the upper like the lower, same thing, and the male and the female into a single one, which I just showed you, the positive and the negative into a single one, so that the male will not be male nor the female will not be female. When you read this, so you have to understand the interpretation of it, and what he's talking about is he's talking about the duality. He's talking about the male and the female, when these become one again, you see. That is how you enter the kingdom. And the kingdom should not be externalized. When you understand that everything is interconnected and we're a reflection of the universe and the universe is a reflection of us. Now here's something that backs up what I've been saying about the King James Bible. Jesus said the Pharisees and scholars have taken the keys of knowledge and have hidden them. And they have not entered, nor have they allowed those who want to enter to do so. As for you, be sly as snakes and simple as doves. Right here on this picture, what you see is you see the throne of St. Peter. But what you also see St. Peter always holding, and if you take a look right here, you can see there's a key here, and there is a key here. And you always see, even in the logo for the Vatican, you always see the logo for the Vatican is basically these two keys, these keys that they're holding, that we are not allowed to have. The knowledge that I've just showed you. What they're always pointing to. You always see them, I don't know exactly what the connection is to the Orion Nebula as opposed to the center of our galaxy, but I can tell you this is what they're pointing to, and they're holding the keys and they don't want you to get there. But the keys that they also hold is to understand yourself and to understand the Hermetic philosophy that they've also kept from you, which is the knowledge of the ancients. The knowledge of the ancients that comes from the Corpus Hermeticum right here, which is from early Christian writings as well. So we have learned to not stop seeking until you've found. It doesn't mean that you take on what other people give you. It means you seek for it yourself. It means to know what's in front of your face. It means to know to make the two one again, to lose your duality. Hermetics is being taught here. So folks, these are the things that they've hidden from you. Hope this helps. Y'all take care.